Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller, the podcast. I'm joined by Seth.
Hey, welcome, guys. Thanks for finding us on the internet.
Now, these shows originally aired on Brookings Radio, but now they're all here for your enjoyment. I hope you like it.
There you go. Sit back, enjoy the show, relax. Let us know if you want to see anything on future shows. As we said, this comes out live in the Brookings area, but enjoy this archive episode.
Beer Untapped with Perry Miller.
Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. It's big and bold. In fact, it's one of the biggest and boldest styles both in flavor and alcohol level. The Imperial Stout this week on Beer Untapped. As we talked to Seth Cook at Wooden Lakes Brewing at Brookings, he was in the midst of brewing their Imperial Stout, Pogonophilia.
The imperialization, if that's, we're going to use that, of any beer just means big and strong. And Russian Imperial Stout is kind of the patriarch, the granddaddy of them all, of what an Imperial style is. Now, obviously, like every type of beer style, there's an element of folklore that's been intertwined with the actual truth. And that's true for the Russian Imperial Stout. So the folklore is that the Tsars of Russia wanted the stouts that were produced in England, and the Tsars of Russia needed them heavy and fortified to combat the winters. So the brewers, to answer the call, took their stouts and made them even more strong with more malt and higher alcohol content and aged them in barrels as they traveled across the seas and across the land to be served at the delight of the bearded czars. These
massive stouts became a favorite of American craft brewers.
It was adopted by American craft brewers and accelerated from there. The Russian Imperial Stout being so big in terms of not only flavor but also alcohol content and
often
mouthfeel.
Over 10%.
Right. It lends itself well to aging in different vessels. So, the obvious one is wood aged. That's very traditional. But also the brewers have begun to sneak in fruits and other additives, whether it be chocolates or blackberries or, strawberries, about anything, just because that is such a big flavor that it serves itself well.
Some examples of this style have cult-like followings and special release days. For many breweries, it's a once-a-year deal.
The thing about Russian Imperial Stouts is that they usually stretch the limits of what brewers want or can do on their system. This is our second day brewing it, so what it takes is it takes us 2 days to brew one beer. And we don't make double the volume. We actually make less than we would on a normal brew day. So compared to like a Wild Hare that we make, that's our light cream ale, we're using 4 times, if not 6 times, the amount of grain and double the resources. So, and then that's okay, and that's what it's for. They're a bit of a celebration. They're a bit, they're a specialty.
It also took 4 times the yeast, as it has to work extra hard processing all those sugars into alcohol, and they don't yet know when Pogonophilia will be ready to serve.
It takes time to age. It takes to be patient. It is a big beer. Also, the thing about big beers and big alcohol, the stuff can go amiss with it. It's a risky beer in terms of just the economics side of it. It's not like our flagships that we can make day in and day out, probably with our eyes closed, but the benefit is greater. So it's fun. It's a challenge.
More on Imperial Stouts when Beer Untapped continues in a moment.
Give me some men who are stout-hearted men who will fight for the right they adore. Start me with 10 who are stout-hearted men, and I'll soon give you 10,000 more.
Welcome back to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller as we dive into the Imperial Stout. Seth Cook at Wooden Lakes Brewing at Brookings is brewing a batch of their big Imperial Stout, Pogonophilia. And this time around, they're trying something new with the leftovers. This is an old technique called the party guile.
Saved some of our runnings from our batches and are creating a second beer. I've never done this before, so this is the first time. So
this is a really old school thing that used to always be done.
Yeah, this isn't something we made up. Brewers would make multiple batches of beer off one collection of grain. The first beer that would come off would be the strong beer. and the second beer that would come off would be a wheat beer. And sometimes those wheat beers were actually children's beers or table beers, if you look at the history of them, and they're very low in ABV. Similar characteristics to the first, but you get most of your color, most of your sugars with the first runnings, meaning the first time you use the grains. The second time you use the grains, you may have a tint of those colors and a hint of those sugars, but usually a lot smaller. For our version here, what we're going to make, it's going to be a brown ale.
And they call it Bonus Brown.
That's not to mean that it's an afterthought. We actually took a lot of time, and actually took a lot of time, a lot of science, and a lot of research to kind of figure out how we could best utilize those grains. Because obviously, Pogonophilia today and yesterday, or when we brewed it, was the target for what we wanted to brew. But we wanted to do so mindfully that we could make a second beer out of it, so that people could come and experience that. If as a practical matter, it's really nice to have another beer. But it's also kind of a fun experiment.
So you can look forward to trying Pogonophilia and Bonus Brown, perhaps together, to compare at some point in the future at Wooden Legs. In the meantime, if you want to try a Russian Imperial Stout, there are some really good ones that are not hard to find. Old Rasputin from North Coast is superb and surprisingly affordable. For a barrel-aged example, try Central Waters Bourbon Barrel Stout.
Russian Imperial Stouts are a good celebratory beer. They're a good beer to sit and really enjoy. It's probably not something you'd drink 4 of them at a hockey game. And at the same time, when you go to buy a Russian Imperial Stout, now that we've kind of discussed the resources, they're usually more expensive than and it's not necessarily because the brewers want to upcharge for it. It's just the time, the material, everything that goes into them. They're a heartfelt, they're a carefully developed product, but they do take a lot of time, energy, and resources.
Now let's check in with our Brookings Liquor Store beer guide, Drew Eklund. He says they have some great new beers on tap for your growler fills this week.
From New Belgium, it's Whiz Bang Hoppy Blonde. 12 cents an ounce. Whiz Bang is an easy drinking light beer with tropical and lime flavors and a slightly bitter finish, similar to a session IPA. The next one I have is from Summit. It's their Dark Infusion, 16 cents an ounce. Dark Infusion is a coffee milk stout, which gives the beer a creamy mocha flavor. The 8.5 ABV is well hidden as well.
New packaged beer at the Brookings Liquor Store includes a favorite from Tallgrass Brewing, their Vanilla Bean Buffalo Sweat, plus the new Pale Ale and IPA variants from New Belgium. Now let's finish with some upcoming events at Wooden Legs.
On the 20th, which is Friday, we've got a really cool one. Working with the Brookings Economic Development Council and the group over there, they're actually launching an event here at the pub as one of their first, and I know they're going to have follow-up events around town, but it's called Beyond Connections. And what it is, it's designed to welcome new members and old members of the community as well, but to try to give a social experience to maybe those new members that have just moved to town and want to meet and greet some of some community leaders, want to be able to interface and interact with different organizations, and that's what it is. It's a social. It's not based on a program or it's not based on an upsell or anything. It is just what a pub is for.
Then gaming geeks.
Oh boy,
rejoice.
LAN party. The next day we're doing a LAN party. This is cool because, as you guys know, we bring our computers and hook them up and we video game with each other. But this time we've been sponsored by GameStop in Brookings, and GameStop is providing PlayStation 4s and games so that we don't even have to worry about that. So if anybody wants to come down and just game, you don't have to bring a PC. You have to bring down a competitive spirit and are willing to do a little bit of witty banter with those that you're playing in the same room. So those are the two things.
In other words, trash talking.
A little bit of witty banter and or trash talking. But that's it. It's going to be the 21st, which is a Saturday. We're opening up the side room.
That's it for this week's show. Until next time, drink local and drink responsibly.
Thank you for listening to this archived edition of Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Feel free to listen to other episodes, and if there's anything you'd like us to talk about on a future show, please let us know. Thanks again.